Well, we've got another ECM in, so it is time to build a bench harness. Stick around. Hey everybody, welcome back to the garage, and as always, let me take a moment to thank all the new subscribers, all the people dropping the likes, and all the new patrons out there. You know what? I'm just going to leave it at that. Remember, you can always find us at tuning101.com. That will take you directly to the YouTube channel for goatropegarage.com. And then on top of it, we're going to be diving in some documentation. In fact, we're going to be using the EFI Live harness pinouts for doing a bench harness today. You can find this document and it has almost all the GM ECMs in it. You can find that document along with all the other ones that we use on this at pg4car.com. And then while I'm thinking about it, I want to do a big shout out to Zeth, my buddy Dirt Floor Fab. Sent me some awesome tools in the mail, man. You're the best. I appreciate it as always. So I will put a link down to his YouTube. If for some reason you have not subscribed to it, check it out. He's got a badass project that he's working on. And just got some pretty good insight on some stuff that's a little bit more inside baseball than what I normally do. The guy knows his engines, body fab, stuff like that. So make sure to check out Dirt Floor's website. And he's always around on the Thursday nights. So give him a shout out if you see him on Thursday nights on a live show. But that being said, we have a new ECM, bricked. Hopefully not bricked because we haven't done anything with this. But so, as I said, whenever I supposedly brick the other one, I was going to do a bench harness to program one, and then we were going to change the way that we did programming in the car. So I have all this fun stuff in front of me. I'm not going to be using connectors whenever I do this. I have pins. They are the right size pin, but they're too short. I don't even know if we can focus in there, that type. But nonetheless, I have pins. They are too short to be used in a harness, but they are the right size pins for this. So we will be pinning out wires. We've got an OBD2 port. We're going to have a couple switches. We'll have a main power switch that acts like your battery, and then an ignition switch. We'll use a fluke meter to double check which way they are on and off, so we get them mounted in here properly in this little PVC junction box. As I said, the OBD2 port. I actually have broken out the soldering iron. We're going to kind of fast forward through a lot of this, so you're not going to get to see me shake as I try and solder. But I have everything here to throw together a bench harness, and then whenever we're done, all the wires that plug in, which there's only, looks like 7, they will all be crimped with a terminal, and then we'll heat shrink over that terminal to make sure that we can't short out on anything else. Then we'll plug into it and see if we can see the ECM. So I'm going to set the camera up in time-lapse mode, basically, and just kind of start throwing some of this stuff together. It's very straightforward. As I said, we will have a toggle switch on the side that is power. We will have a light switch that is the ignition switch, which is like turning the ignition to on. Then the rest of it in this particular situation is just hooking up the 2 CAN buses. And after we hook up, we'll hook up to this with like HP tuners, verify that we can even see it. Then if we can see it and that everything works, we may hook up to the old bricked one and see if there's anything going on communications wise there. But once we do get communications set up on this, we will do an SBS tune or download the factory OS to it. That'll be a different video, so keep your eyes peeled. And if you didn't see the video and wish I bricked the original one, check it out. I'll post a link up in the corner here. And I go through I go through all the steps through SPS. It's just that it failed at 50%. And that was on me. There was a couple things that I did wrong as far as with the power on the car and even having the car in accessory mode versus on. So that failure, I think, was completely on me. But nonetheless, let's dive in. Let's check this out. Let's get this done. Okay, so I just wanted to take a moment before I button this thing up to show you kind of what's going on here. I've got my power supply over here, 12 volt, 1 amp, should be sufficient. My OBD2 port doesn't quite fit in here. I will work on that later on. I'm not too worried about it right now. If anything, I'll just epoxy that part down. But then we've got 12 volts coming in through this switch here. Coming out of this switch, it then goes to the constant power wire, which is going to be our red one, and then it goes up to our one of the sides on our switch for our ignition wire, and then we also go out into the OBD2 port because there's a constant power there. Then on the other side of this, we have the 3 yellow wires, which are our ignition wires for the ECM. And then on top of it, we've got the blue and green, which are our CAN bus wires, wired directly into the CAN bus on that. So pretty straightforward so far. You know, any excess wires, I went ahead and put heat shrink on. I'm going to wrap some tape around this so we have no exposed surfaces on this thing. But we should be ready to button this up, and then all we have to do is throw terminals on the ends of these wires, and we should be ready to go. Should be to the point of testing it out. I seem to have lost one of my screws on this switch though, which kind of sucks. Hopefully I can find one for that. But other than that, I'm going to keep on working on it here, and then we'll test it out here in a second. Okay, well, I noticed that the camera in stop motion was geetering out, so hopefully, I'm guessing that none of that's going to come through. So I'll kind of walk through what I did here. As I said, I've got some terminals here. These are not the right terminals for this harness, but the size of the hole is correct. And so went ahead and used those. You got to have the proper crimpers for these. And on these crimpers, the die, for whatever size it is, has one that's a little bit tighter than the other. The one that's smaller than the other, and it's the same area that you put it in. The one that's smaller crimps onto the wire, and then the back section crimps onto the insulation to kind of hold it together. So make sure if you're doing something like this and you're using terminals like this, use the proper ones. Then after that, I just threw some heat shrink on to make sure that we wouldn't short out against some other terminals. Now, that all being said, let me kind of move this here. That all being said, we're going to now use our wiring diagram here that we have our pinouts. And I've written everything down as far as what colors are what coming out of here. And so black 23, if you look on your ECM, in the housing itself, the numbers are stamped, are molded in there. So black 23, we know that, let's see here, 16 is up here, which means 1 is down here. So if we're at 16 there, we're going to go 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Perfect. So next one we have blue 20, which is the red one. So that's 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. We're good there. Now we have one of the yellows is going to go to black 13. So we'll go 16, 15, 14, 13. Count down. And then blue 18 and 19. So we were on blue 20. So there's 19. Then we'll double count here, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, just to make sure, because we sure don't want to mess anything up whenever we turn this thing on. But see, they fit on there perfectly fine, even with the heat shrink on there because of the size of the plastic around the pins normally. So finally, we have the CAN bus connections, which are over here on the gray one. And so gray 53 is going to be our positive one, which happens to be green in this one. So if we look at 16, 53 is right here. And then we should be on gray 33, which I believe is the one right beside 53. I will double check though. Perfect. So that all being said, we should be wired up properly now. Go ahead and plug it in. Make sure everything's turned off. Everything's off here. And then let's grab HP tuners. And I'm not going to pull it up on the screen tonight for this. I'm just going to make sure that you can see the screen because we're just verifying we can hit it with HP tuners real quick. We don't even know what this is. I think it's maybe a Malibu by chance. Okay, we got the scanner opened up. We're going to go ahead and apply 12 volts. And let's turn the ECM on. Fingers crossed. So it's found it. It's requesting the calibration. Should load up the PIDs here. Detecting the parameters. There it goes. It's finding all the ECM parameters. And we are officially connected to this vehicle. Of course, nothing works because there's nothing going on. AFRs look good. We can hit the details here. And this is a E67 GM Gen 4 out of a 2006 Chevy Malibu Max SS. So there you have it. That is the harness. As I said, hopefully the time capture or the time-lapse stuff I did, it messed up. If it didn't, I apologize. All you missed was me doing the wiring stuff, but I broke down the wiring. As I said, I put a link out to the document that has all of the pinouts for the E38s, the E40s, all that stuff. EFI Live's awesome for putting that information out there, making it readily available. Appreciate, big shout out to those guys. As I said, the way that we've got it set up now though, this is our ignition switch, so if we go in and start doing programming, things like that, we can basically turn the car off, and then if we need to, we can disconnect the battery to the car. So the next big step is to dump in an actual E67 config using SPS and seeing if we can get it to work. So I am probably going to shoot that video right now, but you're not going to see that. There might be some spoilers on the Instagram. If you're not a member of the Instagram, go check it out, goatropegarage.com. Remember, you can, Goat Rope Garage is the Instagram. GoatRopeGarage.com, you can get to all the other stuff though. The merch side, you can get decals, you can join the Patreon to get tuning assistance. Go check it out. But if you have any questions on how I set this up, let me know. More than happy to dive into it, and hopefully the bench programming works out for us. So remember everybody, ABT, always be tuning.